Chosen one, the timing of this message is not random. It's a sign that the shift has already begun. This is not content, it's a code. And the moment you press play, you're activating a part of yourself that's been dormant for lifetimes. What if I told you the delays, the breakdowns, and the chaos in your life aren't random? They're tactical moves meant to keep you from stepping into your true power. This is not a dream. You're already in the war. You've sensed it in the pit of your stomach when a simple task derails for no reason. You felt it when a friend turns cold the moment you mention your vision. They're working to dim your light because they know what happens when you rise. If this message already speaks to your soul, subscribe, like this video, and comment 77 below. Stay close, because what you're about to learn will arm you for the battles you never signed up for. You're not crazy, you're under attack. Have you ever felt a chill whisper across your spine in the stillness of night? An almost inaudible murmur that something unseen was moving around you? Perhaps it came as a dream of shadowy figures closing in, or as a sudden shiver when the room was otherwise warm. In moments like these, they count on you twisting the experience into anxiety or imagination. But what if that heartbeat in your throat was the first clear signal of a targeted strike against your spirit? You weren't simply startled by a creak in the floor. You were sensing the tremors of an invisible assault designed to unmoor your sense of safety. That whisper in the wind, that weight on your chest. They are real, and they're aimed squarely at fracturing your focus and extinguishing your inner light. In the daylight hours, when everyone insists you're overreacting, you feel the undercurrent of disruption in every conversation. You share a fresh insight at work and watch colleagues' eyes flicker with discomfort, as if your words carry a secret they'd rather not acknowledge. You bravely offer your passion project to a friend, only to receive polite praise laced with cold dismissal. This is not mere indifference, but a subtle sabotage, a pattern of resistance calibrated to make you question your own worth. Those days when you replay encounters in your mind, searching for a hidden barb in an otherwise friendly tone, are not the result of paranoia, but a perceptive sensitivity to the pressure they exert. Every delayed text, every ducked eye, every sudden change in tone is a pinprick assault on your confidence. Deep beneath these patterns lies a hidden architecture of opposition that stretches back through ages of spiritual conflict. Just as Job endured trials orchestrated by forces beyond human sight, so too are you being tested by principalities and powers that wage war in the unseen realm. In 1 Peter 5 verse 8, we are warned to be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. When you feel the invisible weight of fear pressing on your chest, recognize it as a maneuver in a much larger battle. Your isolation, your inexplicable doubts, and the fatigue that crashes over you at odd moments are not random. They are trials designed to shape you into a vessel of unshakable faith. Look back on the curious coincidences that once felt innocuous. The flicker of lights when you prayed, the sudden gust of wind indoors, the uncanny repeat of a name and overheard murmurs. Each was a breadcrumb leading you toward awareness of this hidden war. You read about spiritual warfare in scripture, but dismissed it as metaphor. Now, those vague references in Ephesians 6 verse 12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, unfold before your eyes in living color. You begin to see how daily frustrations, inexplicable setbacks, and bout of inner turmoil were never just life's random challenges, but the signatures of strategic interference. There is a reassuring truth in all this unrest. Your intuition has always been your greatest shield. When that inner voice says pause, it isn't a call to overthink, but a divine alert to enemy movement. When your body tenses before an important conversation, it isn't needless anxiety, but your spirit reporting for duty. This quiet confirmation arrives not with fanfare, but in the hush of your own soul, reminding you that what you feel is valid. Each time you honor that instinct, choosing stillness over reaction, you strengthen your spiritual armor. You are not hallucinating threats. You are tuning into a frequency of higher awareness. As you begin to accept that these pressures are intentional, you feel the first stirrings of empowerment. The very forces that sought to bend you now prove the weight of what you carry. They have tried to shroud your gift in doubt, but their efforts only illuminate its brilliance. Like the refining fire of Isaiah 48 verse 10. I have refined you, but not as silver. I have tested you in the furnace of affliction. You emerge more resilient with each trial. Your discomfort becomes the proof of your potency. The landmines they set in your path are markers of your frontier. Crossing them means you are stepping into new territory of spiritual authority. Now comes the moment of choice. Will you shy away from the heat of revelation, or will you gather the embers of your courage and fan them into a steady flame? Embrace that your sensitivity is not a flaw, but a compass guiding you through the battlefield. Your hunger for truth is a roar that deafens the lies they whisper. When doubt rises like a storm cloud, respond to the calm certainty of one who has felt the currents of divine purpose. You stand at the edge of the threshold where fear dissolves in the light of recognition. You were never meant to wander this battlefield alone. Your arrival here was no accident. It was an act of cosmic alignment. Comment strong if you felt their pressure turn into your power, and share a moment when your intuition proved truer than any logic. Your experience will remind another soul that they too are not the only ones under fire. And hold fast, for the next revelation will reveal how to turn their attacks into stepping stones on the path to victory. And if you feel called to go even deeper, there's a sacred space reserved for our community, a private room where you receive full prophetic messages daily. Join our private membership through the link in the description and walk this path with us. The silent tools of spiritual warfare. A faint tremor of unease first rippled through your morning coffee ritual, as if the steam itself carried a warning you couldn't name. You stirred the cup repeatedly, watching the swirls blur into an indistinct haze, and felt an unexpected weight settle in your chest. Something was shifting beneath the surface of your routine life, a quiet heaviness that suggested you were no longer simply drifting along a familiar current. It was as though invisible fingers were tugging at the seams of your day, tugging to unravel the comfort you once took for granted. This was the opening gasp of conflict emerging, an almost imperceptible signal that forces both seen and unseen had begun to recalibrate around you, responding to an energy you were only just beginning to claim. Within hours of that morning's disquiet, you found yourself battling a tide of emotional pressure that felt like a personal siege. A well-meaning colleague dismissed your insights as overly ambitious, leaving you to replay their words in your mind like a broken record. A friend canceled plans at the last minute, citing vague excuses that left you questioning whether you'd done something wrong. You felt the sting of being labeled too sensitive, too intense, too much for the world to handle. Shame crept in, slithering through old wounds you thought long healed, forcing you to question whether your longing for deeper purpose was a dangerous self-delusion. Every rejection pressed against your heart, convincing you that vulnerability was a luxury you could no longer afford. But this emotional turbulence was not random chaos. It was evidence of hidden structures at work. Beneath the surface of everyday interactions lay a network of reactive systems, energetic currents and subconscious alliances that sensed your rising potential and sought to contain it. In ancient times, prophets found themselves exiled into the wilderness not as punishment, but as crucibles of refinement. Similarly, you were being ushered into a modern wilderness of resistance, a wilderness where every obstacle and interruption served a purpose. Like the Israelites wandering until their faith reached a threshold, you too were being tested by forces that understood the magnitude of what stirred within you. This was no mere inconvenience. It was a sacred trial designed to reveal the depth of your calling. As you look back, patterns begin to emerge from the chaos, like constellations forming across a night sky. Remember the software that inexplicably glitched when you wrote about spiritual breakthroughs. Recall the phone that died mid-prayer, as if to sever your connection to higher guidance. Think of repeating betrayals, projects derailed by colleagues, initiatives halted by unseen bureaucracy, dreams sidelined by sudden health scares. These were not isolated incidents, but a tapestry of sabotage woven to distract and divide your focus. What once felt like bad luck now shines with clarity. Every closed door, every stalled opportunity, every exhausting detour marked a station on the path of your awakening. Gradually, the fog of confusion lifted, revealing the first clear outlines of spiritual resistance. You sense the air grow thick around you in moments of inspiration, as though your very thoughts could not break through the heaviness. There were times when a simple act of devotion, singing hymns softly or reading a sacred text, was met with almost tangible pushback, like a barrier pressing against your spirit. Silent watchers linger in the corners of your mind, whispering that you would never outgrow your past, that your voice was too small to matter. Even the doors you tried to open in your soul seemed latched shut by forces you could not yet name. This was the moment when resistance ceased to be theory and became the visible weight pressing on your world. In the face of mounting opposition, you made choices, some of which dimmed your inner light, others that reflected flickers of defiance. Perhaps you retreated into solitude, hoping that silence might shield you from the world's pushback. Maybe you softened your truth, adopting a more palatable version of yourself to avoid ruffling feathers. You might even have channeled your frustration into quiet rebellion, working on secret projects late at night, hidden from prying eyes. Each reaction revealed a mirror of your own fears. The fears standing out, the urge to shrink for the sake of comfort, the temptation to surrender the vision that had ignited your soul. Yet these responses, however tender your recoil, were part of the alchemy transforming pressure into power. Now, sense the shift as the energy of resistance begins to reverse, confirmation unfolding in place of condemnation. The very obstacles that aim to break you now testify to the weight of your purpose. Each act of blockage has highlighted dimensions of your gift that you might otherwise have overlooked. The clarity of your voice, the fierce compassion in your heart, the unwavering persistence in your soul. You recognize that every delay was divine choreography, a way to refine your timing and align your steps. The fragments of frustration collected along the way are now reconstructing into a mosaic of strength, and you stand on the cusp of reclamation, ready to claim what was always yours. Here's the bold truth. You were opposed because you are powerful. They sense in you a flame that could ignite change, and so they try to snuff it out. Because your potential is a threat to complacency, the more they endeavor to block your path, the more vivid your vision burned in response. As Psalm 144 verse 1 proclaims, "Blessed be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war." You've been trained by these very encounters. Now you know that their resistance is the altar upon which your purpose is consecrated. Comment focused if you're ready to uncover every hidden trap, and share a moment when you realize that every obstacle was an invitation to rise. Hold fast, for in the next section we will equip you with the spiritual weapons and shields to stand unshaken in your calling. And to every soul who supported with a super thanks, thank you. You are keeping this light alive for others who haven't found it yet. If you feel called to help this mission reach more chosen ones, tap the super thanks button below. Your energy supports these messages and helps them travel further. Your voice matters, your belief matters, and your light is felt here. Spiritual weapons and shields. A sudden stillness falls over your mind when you realize that every whispered prayer, every silent plea, every breath drawn in the depths of night has been forging a weapon of unparalleled reach. In the intimacy of your own solitude, you discover that prayer is not an act of supplication, but a decree issued from the throne of your heart, a thunderbolt hurled against the shadows that dared to encircle you. In that quiet cathedral within, you felt the tremor of authority settle in your bones, reminding you that your voice carries weight beyond mortal reckoning. What once felt like pleading has become the roar of command, and the words you speak now cleave through doubt as steel cuts through mist. In the hidden chambers of memory, declarations have always been more than mere syllables. They were the secret incantations you whispered before daybreak, the vows you made when your spirit stood at the brink of surrender. Those declarations, once framed as hopeful affirmations, are in truth firebrands poised to scorch away every insinuation of fear. Recall the moment when you named your purpose aloud, hands trembling, and felt the air crackle in response. That was no fragile wish. It was a spiritual blade, tempered in the furnace of your longing and sharpened by the edge of divine intent. Now, each declaration you make is an arrow loosed into the heart of darkness, unerring and unstoppable. Discernment, once mistaken for hypervigilance, emerges now as a finely tuned radar that detects the subtlest wavering in the atmosphere of your life. You remember dismissing those prickles of instinct as overreaction, until you learned that each was a beacon identifying hidden snares. Like the watchman on ancient city walls, you stand sentinel over your mind, scanning for the faintest flicker of distortion. This gift, once maligned as paranoia, reveals the outlines of spiritual sabotage before it can take root. In the clarity of this perception, You see the difference between the murmur of truth and the hiss of deception, and you refuse to be drawn into the labyrinth of half-truths again. Boundaries, too, rise up like ramparts around your soul, not as barriers to connection, but as protective bulwarks that safeguard your anointing. In years past, you confuse them with selfishness, reserving your time and your presence only for the comfortable and the familiar. But now you understand that to guard your calling is to honor the source of your life. Each no you speak becomes a shield that deflects the slings of expectation and entitlement, preserving the sacred space in which your light can shine unblemished. As the psalmist declared, "He trains my hands for war." You too learn that holy boundaries are not walls of exclusion, but fortresses of empowerment. Imagine in your hand a sword forged in the essence of your faith, its blade inscribed with verses that anchored you in seasons of doubt, its hilt shaped by every trial you endured. This sword, the word you wield, cuts through the chains of limitation, releasing you from patterns meant to confine your spirit. In Hebrews 4 verse 12, we read that the word of God is living and active, sharper than any two-edged sword. Now you hold that living truth, ready to pierce through every counterfeit narrative and sever ties with the past that no longer serves your destiny. Each swing of this blade cleaves a path forward through the thickest brambles of fear. Your armor, too, is assembled piece by piece from a fragment of your journey. The belt of truth secures your core, keeping you centered when circumstances threaten to pull you off balance. The breastplate of righteousness shields your heart from the arrows of shame and guilt that once wounded you unjustly. Your feet are shod with the readiness that comes from preparing the gospel of peace, anchoring you so firmly that no ground can shift beneath you. And as you lift the shield of faith, you feel its surface glow with every answered prayer and every miracle witnessed in the quiet hours of your walk. This armor is not borrowed. It is bespoke, forged uniquely for the contours of your spirit. Now, sense the wielder behind the weapons and shields, yourself but renewed, the one who once wondered if they could stand against the currents of opposition, now strides with unshakable resolve. You have moved from defensive crouch to upright stance, bearing the spiritual gear that proclaims your readiness for any battle. This is no longer theory or doctrine. It is lived reality, etched into your muscles and your marrow by the crucible of experience. The convergence of prayer, declaration, discernment, and boundaries has transformed you into a warrior of light, capable of engaging the unseen with authority that echoes through the cosmos. Your next step is not a question of if you will use these weapons, but how. You are called to wield them with intention, to train daily in the rhythms of spiritual discipline that keep your edge keen. As the psalmist proclaims, "My hands for war," so your hands are now oriented toward action. Comment armed if you feel the ignition of these weapons within you, and share a moment when you first sense their power come alive. Your testimony will forge a path for others to follow, lighting the way toward victory. And brace yourself, for beyond this threshold lies a knowledge of how to live each day as a triumph of divine authority, turning every challenge into a testament of your unstoppable force. Winning the battle daily. In the hush before your first intentional breath of dawn, you stand at a sacred crossroads where everything you've learned demands a response. No longer are you a passive observer of spiritual warfare. You are the general of your own heart. You feel the question echoing through your soul. Will you continue to drift, buffeted by every unseen force, or will you step into disciplined victory with each sunrise? This is the moment when choosing stillness over distraction becomes an act of defiance, a declaration that you refuse to be pulled by chaos. The day unfolds from here, and your decision to stand firm will ripple through every waking hour. Once, you surrender your mornings to the rush of notifications, your energy leached by the tangle of other people's agendas. Now, reclaim what was given away, time stolen by scrolling, focus diffused by noise, presence fragmented by endless tasks. Consider this your ritual of reclamation, rising before the world stirs, breathing deep into the silence, drawing the power back into your own hands. In Ezekiel 37 verse 14 it is spoken, "I will put my spirit in you and you shall live." Each intentional pause, each moment spent in sacred stillness, recharges a reservoir of your divine authority. You are not behind schedule, you are on holy time. Deep within you lies a set of tools forged in previous battles. Insight that pierces confusion, sensitivity that discerns truth, memory that remembers purpose, strength that endures testing. Recognize these not as abstract gifts, but as functional implements for the fight ahead. Picture your insight as a key unlocking hidden doors, your sensitivity as a compass guiding you through fog, your memory as a scroll inscribed with ancient wisdom, your strength as armor forged in the fires of trial. These are the gifts they try to suppress when they whisper that you were too much, too fragile, too unprepared. But these very tools are your guarantee of victory. With your weapons at the ready, you now stride along a path already laid beneath your feet. The map of victory is not something to discover. It unfolds with each deliberate step. When you choose gratitude over grumbling, when you choose prayer over panic, when you choose clarity over confusion, the next waypoint reveals itself like a lantern lighting your way through the dark. Let your actions form the trail of your destiny, each choice carving the words of your story into the fabric of reality. The path was never hidden. It was waiting for your footsteps to make it visible. Look up and behold the company you keep, not of flesh and blood alone, but of countless chosen ones rising in concert. Across the globe, heartbeats sync with yours in the rhythm of awakening. These soul tribes gather in ether and in person, forming an alliance that outshines every effort to dim individual lights. You need not shrink to fit into a dissolving world. You are sovereign in your cluster, a vital star in a constellation of purpose. Together, you embody collective alignment, each one a living testament that glory is woven in community as much as in solitary devotion. Feel now the mantle of stewardship settle upon your shoulders. Your energy is not a commodity to be depleted, but a sacred flame entrusted to your care. Boundaries become your ceremonial garb, lines drawn not in fear, but in fidelity to what matters most. Each no you utter, each hour reserved for contemplation, each moment dedicated to spiritual hygiene reinforces your command over the currents that swirl around you. As Psalm 23 verse 5 proclaims, "You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows," so your disciplined devotion overflows into every corner of existence, consecrating every fragment of your day. Everything you have felt, everything you have feared, everything you have seen and survived has brought you here, to a place of readiness where hesitation has no power. Hear this declaration. You are ready. In the quiet surge of your heart, know that your resolve is honed and your spirit is steeled. There is no more waiting, no more questions about worthiness. Like Joshua at the banks of the Jordan, stepping into waters that have not yet parted, you stand on the brink of a new realm, knowing that your faith will carve a path through every obstacle. Your time is now. This is not a conclusion, but a summons to embody the revelation you carry. Live each day as proof that spiritual victory is not a distant promise, but a present reality. Calm and victorious if you claim these practices as your way of life, and share a moment when your daily discipline turned a trial into triumph. Your reflection will kindle courage in another soul, and prepare yourself, for the next revelation will unveil how to sustain this authority through every season, transforming every battle into testament of your unshakable destiny. In the half-light before dawn, you recall the hush that fell when you first sensed the invisible currents shifting around you, an echo of destinies converging in a moment older than memory. It was then you understood that your battles fought in the quiet recesses of your heart were never private struggles, but the forging of a beacon meant to pierce the darkness. Each sleepless night spent wrestling doubt was another hammer strike forging your resolve. As the sky blushed with early light, you felt the truth settle like dew on your soul. You are living proof that every spiritual war fought in silence shapes the destiny of light. The stillness that enveloped you became the anvil upon which your spirit was refined. You sensed that each moment of internal conflict carried a purpose beyond your awareness. You stand now on ground hewn by trials that reveal the steel of your conviction. The echoes of your private victories resonate in unseen realms. You learn that silent battles yield the brightest splendor. Your heart beat with the certainty that your struggles served a grander design. In that sacred solitude, you discover the architecture of your power. Every doubt dissolved when you recognize its role in your awakening. The darkness you face sharpened the clarity of your vision. You carry with you the blueprint of resilience wrought in midnight hours. In those hours, you encountered truths that daylight obscured. You found strength in the shadows where your spirit refused to yield. The dawn that followed each night of wrestling became a testament to your endurance. You emerged each morning bearing a light forged in solitude. Remember that every quiet conquest laid the foundation for your luminous path. Psalm 18, verse 28. A soft, uncanny whisper stirred your spirit when you realized that mere survival was no longer the goal. You had crossed a threshold where thriving in divine authority became your only acceptable posture. The days when you cowered beneath the weight of expectation have passed. Now your every breath asserts your rightful place in the unfolding story of renewal. You remember moments when fear threatened to claim you, when your knees buckled under pressure of unseen forces. Yet in raising your voice in fierce prayer, you discovered that your spirit was a throne room where sovereignty resided. And from that throne, you would never again retreat. The moment your plea met the stillness, you felt a shift in cosmic currents. You recognized that your authority was both granted and reclaimed. No longer would you shrink in the face of intimidation. Every word you spoke became an act of consecration. You learned that prayer is the blueprint of victory drawn on the canvas of faith. In that revelation, you stood unshakable. You saw your life transform from a story of mere endurance into a saga of triumphant ascent. Your heart understood that you dwell in divine favor even when storms rage. You carry the mantle of heaven's decree with humility and strength. Your posture changed as your soul anchored in certainty. You move now with the confidence of one who rules by covenant rather than circumstance. This is the authority written into your being. Isaiah 54, verse 17. It hums beneath your ribs and shapes every step you take. Have you noticed how the smallest sabotage, an unexpected delay, a harsh word, a flicker of discouragement, only sharpen your focus on what truly matters? Each targeted attack was never meant to break you, but to strip away every illusion of weakness. Like the refining fire mentioned in Malachi 3, verse 3, purifying the Levites, these trials burn away the dross of doubt, leaving behind the pure gold of conviction. You carry a message that unravels darkness not in spite of your scars, but because of them. Your wounds are the bookmarks in your story, pointing to chapters where your faith triumphed and your voice grew louder. Each scar reminds you of a triumph that no enemy can erase. You learn to wear your healed places as medals of honor. Your past afflictions amplify the power of your testimony. You know that vulnerability is the wellspring of true empathy. In your openness, you guide others toward healing. You hold up your past as proof that transformation is possible. You speak the language of redemption from lived experience. You stand in solidarity with those still in their crucible. Every trial became a conduit for grace to flow through you. You move forward unafraid to let your story shine. In your transparency, you dismantle the walls of isolation. You prove that every fracture can become a channel for light. Your journey is the living scripture of hope made tangible. Your message echoes in the hearts of those who listen. In the quiet of ordinary moments, preparing coffee, reading a text, tending a plant, you feel the spark of collective awakening ignite under your touch. You are the spark because you have walked through the crucible and emerged with a heart unafraid to shine. When you speak your truth, you kindle in others the courage to stand, to speak, and to step into the light they once feared. You are both torchbearer and pathfinder, illuminating the way for souls stumbling in the shadows. This is the essence of thriving in divine authority. Not a solo conquest, but shared pilgrimage toward the dawn. With every gentle act of kindness, you fan the embers of transformation in those around you. In casual conversations, you plant seeds of revelation. Your attentiveness becomes a catalyst for awakening. You move through life as an agent of grace. The ordinariness of your routine conceals its sacred power. You learn that every moment holds the potential to shift collective consciousness. You choose to treat each interaction as holy ground. Your presence becomes a conduit for healing and insight. Even the simplest gestures bear the weight of your consecration. You witness hearts open unexpectedly in your presence. You have seen the battlefield. You have been equipped with weapons and shields. Now it is your time to stand and claim your victory. Subscribe if you haven't yet, like this video, and comment, "I am chosen," to let this message anchor in your soul. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. Thank you to all supporting members. For full prophetic revelations daily, join the membership via the link in the description. Your spiritual path deserves more than fragments. Step into the full light. And if this message moved you deeply, consider tapping the Super Thanks button to support the mission. Every Super Thanks fuels the light we're spreading together. Go forth and conquer, Chosen One. Your war has already been won.